Hi, my name is Damon Lembi, and I'm the CEO of Learn It. I hope you enjoy your class. And if you do, please like and subscribe to my channel because we have plenty of more content coming. Have a good day.
Hello and welcome to Building Motivation for Your Team. My name is Calvin Strawn, and for the next short while here, I'll be your facilitator, trainer, and coach as we go through how to pull the best out of your teams. The real message or mission of this session is how do you adjust your behaviors, your techniques, how you might speak, what you might look for in your teams to really pull the best from them. Does that make sense? So getting the most out of this session, I know you're watching me through a video medium here, but catch this. There is still some interaction we want to do. So we're following adult learning principles. And what that means is as we go through this session, please take notes as you can. So have a notebook open, have a document open, but capture the notes. If you just watch me here and go through this session, what happens is you don't retain as much. What the adult learning principles show us is if you can actually take some notes as we go, you're going to retain that much more. And in fact, they say it's as high as 60, almost 70% retention if you do that. So what that means is this will live beyond this session here with me. Also engage. So at certain points, I'm going to play with you and joke with you. And I'm going to say to you, hey, please pause the session right now and do the activity. And as I do that, please do that, okay? As you engage with me, you'll retain more as well. Also, stay hydrated. And the final thing is be curious. As we go through the session, there'll be things you say, you know what? I kind of know motivation. I kind of get it. That could happen. My goal here isn't to sort of reinvent the wheel. The real message is how do you pull the best out of your people? How do you access what you're doing at a more deep level? Does that make sense? Okay, so here we go. First things first. When you think about sustainable motivation, we all have this picture in our mind. And maybe you've seen a good movie or a sports movie or a courtroom drama where it's like all of a sudden everything is riding on this next action, this next delivery, this next play, and we're just counting on it. We've been pummeled and beaten and just driven down. And so here comes the main character and they come in and they get into character and they start giving this hair-raising, sort of like heart-pumping speech and you're ready to just do anything. That is not what this course is about. This is not your any given Sunday moment. This is about sustainable motivation, not about giving speeches. So what we're going to do here is not be corny or cheesy or hokey, but give you real concrete things you can do to pull the best from your team. So here's what we're going to explore in this session today. 1, why we need motivated employees. What's the benefit? What's the purpose behind this? 2, the 4 components to create an optimal workplace environment for sustainable motivation. So what can we do? What's in our control as far as changing or shifting our environment? 3, the impact of showing appreciation. It's far too often people aren't being recognized, and it pays off big dividends if you do. And then finally, why transferring optimism to your team really matters. Those are our 4 components. So if you're ready, get your notebook out, get your documents out, and here we go. Let's look at what motivation actually means. The inner force that drives individuals to accomplish personal and organizational goals. If we slow this down just for a second, what am I saying? We're saying it's coming from within. It's an inner component to this individual or team. Okay, and when we tap into that inner force within them, that's what drives them to accomplish personal and organizational goals. So the question becomes, why do we need this? Why are we focusing on this? One area is this. Motivated employees are 31% more productive and 87% less likely to quit. So if you're tapping into that inner force for your people, they're going to stick with you longer and produce better results for you. Does that make sense? Also, a highly motivated team is key to maximizing productivity and minimizing employee turnover. So the idea is for our organizations, we need motivated employees. We want them to be engaged, to lean in and draw in on that inner force. You follow me? Isn't it true? Now check this out. Motivation is a choice. It's not something you're going to actually force on someone. You can't stick your fingers into someone's brain and go, be motivated. It doesn't really work. Motivation is not something you can do for others. So it's outside your control to a degree. However, you can create an optimal workplace condition that encourages and maximum motivation for your team. What am I saying? Maybe you can't stick your fingers in their brain and make them be motivated, but what you can do is work on your environment, work on your working conditions, things you can control that makes it more likely for them to tap into their inner force. Does that make sense? Okay, so watch this. If we're going to do this, if we're going to build a motivated team and focus on what we can control, there are 4 key aspects we have to do here. One of them is we got to provide clarity. What is it we're looking for? What should our team be doing? What are some benchmarks, some ideas we want to see from our team? Also, check out our style. Does our style match up with our team? So we have to assess our style because maybe it works for some, but not for others. And we have to be conscious of that. Third, how do we maximize their satisfaction? And there's 2 pillars in that section I want to cover that are really important. And also make it personal. Make sure it's really tailored to who you're talking to. And there are specific things you want to do for each individual person. And if we do these 4 things well, we are actually going to build team motivation. Okay, have a drink of water, sit up in your chair, get your notes out. Here we go. Let's look at providing clarity for our team. So first things first. Vision, goals, and expectations require one important element. Clarity. Now, if you missed it, look at the slide. Right? You see that? So all of a sudden, there's like this haze over it, right? So our team sits back and okay, what's expected? What do you want from me? What should this look like? And if we don't have a clear vision or a clear goal, it's really hard for someone to lean in for you. So our job as leaders is make it as clear as possible. Do what we can within our control to make it clear for our teams. Follow? So how do you do that? So employees who experience role clarity are 53% more efficient. They're 27% more effective and 25% improved work performance. Just by making things super clear, like bite size. And often people will say, come on, common sense. Come on, this is obvious. But here's the thing. Common sense is not common practice. Our goal is to make it easy for people to follow through on it. The more clear we are, the better they'll do. 75% of employees who experience clarity are more passionate about their jobs and have higher levels of job satisfaction. It's so critical to get this. So when you're providing clarity to your employees, what you want to do is clarify expectations and benchmarks. You want to clarify how the results of their work will be measured. Also, clarify how their work will impact the larger company goals. And finally, clarify team, individual, and company-wide missions and visions. If you can, that's totally within your control to post that somewhere, really detail it down, communicate it consistently so people know exactly what they're trying to do. I want you to do something really quickly for me here. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to pause this recording. Okay, so pause me in a second. Not yet, just wait. Here's what I want you to do. It's called a think and write. So take your time to think and then write your responses to provide clarity. So in your notes, here's what I want you to do. Consider where your team would benefit from clarity. Okay, so think about this. How can you clarify expectations and benchmarks of tasks and projects? How can you do that? That's first question number 1. Question number 2 is, how can you clarify how the results of their work will be measured? So they're saying, okay, how do I know if I'm doing good or not? What are the benchmarks? What are the goalposts? Give them those ideas as well, okay? Third, how can you clarify how their work will impact the larger company goals? A lot of times folks just aren't really aware of how their work matters, and we all want meaning. And then 4, how can you clarify individual, team, and company-wide missions and values? Okay, so 4 questions here. I'm going to recommend take 4 minutes, a minute per question to think and write. So pause me now, get ready, pause me now, and take 4 minutes and answer these 4 questions. I'll come back to you very soon. How to build team motivation. Let's look at assess your style. So one of the key pieces, being able to build motivation in your team and drive that inner force out is how are we showing up? How is our style impacting our team? There's key things we want to think about here. So the first thing is this. I'm going to have you do a quick exercise right now. Here's what I want you to do. Again, think and write activity, meaning understanding motivations. So what I want you to do is what do you think motivates your people to come to work each morning? Now be careful here. When I'm teaching this, what I'm telling you to do is this. Look at it from your perspective. So imagine you're looking at your team and your perspective. When you look and observe your team, what are you noticing? I don't want to hear about it from their perspective and through their eyes. I want you to look at it through your eyes. When you look at them and give me a description of what you see, what do you think makes them come to work? Okay, so here we go. First question is A. Do you believe they get great satisfaction in their work? So if I'm looking going, making your assessment, right? Second question is, do you believe they take pride in doing the best job possible? C. Do you believe they see working as a burden? And then D. Do you feel they work just for the money? So for a second here, look at your team. And from your perspective, from your position, looking at them, how do you respond to these questions? Does that make sense? Okay, so pause the recording. I'll be watching you. I'll be right here. So pause me right now, answer these questions, and then come right back. Okay, so welcome back. So what you have now are the answers to these questions from your perspective. Looking at them, noticing what you see, understanding their motivations from your perspective. True? Okay, so who do you see when you look at your team? It's an important piece. I really want you to focus on what are you seeing from your perspective, because when you sit back now, there's going to be certain assumptions, certain ideas, certain biases, certain beliefs you're forming about your team. And those biases and beliefs and assumptions are affecting your style and how you actually move or motivate that team. Does that make sense? So here's the idea. This comes from the Theory X and Theory Y work that was done, research that was done. And the idea here is you're adjusting your style to the wants and needs of your team. So if you're Theory X, the idea is you're more authoritarian in your style. If you're Theory Y, you're more participative. Let's break this down. So under Theory X, what happens is these individuals who are more authoritative have the assumption that their teams do not like to work. They're assuming that they're unwilling to take responsibility, that they have little ambition. So in this case, when you're authoritarian, it's very much carrot and stick. You're getting a paycheck. Here comes your bonus. Get to work. This kind of much more stronger, more firm approach in the authoritarian side. Follow? Now, if we go Theory Y, if you're a Theory Y individual and you're more participative, this means when you look at your team, what you're seeing is these folks enjoy their work. They like to feel challenged. They work on their own initiative. They increase responsibility and they have empowering decisions. So the assumptions being made here are, wow, it's so much more uplifting and engaging in this type of a space. Now notice this. I'm not suggesting one is better than the other. What I'm saying is, do you know where you are on the spectrum? And it's possible you may have to pivot back and forth between both when you're working with your teams. In some cases, some folks on your team, they want to hear this carrot and stick authoritarian style. But in other instances, they want to be more participative and like to feel challenged and enjoy it. So there's this sort of back and forth. The goal for you, though, is if you want to pull this inner force out of your teams is, are you noticing where your team is showing up on these poles? And then are you adjusting your behavior to accommodate where your team is? Does that make sense? Okay, good. Now continuing on here, check this out. We're going to do the same or a similar think and write exercise, but now, rather than going from your perspective, I want you to look at it through the eyes of your team. And it's going to sound corny, but try it with me for a second. Imagine you could step into the mind of your team and look at the world through their eyes. And you say, what in the world? Okay, just trust me. Quality questions lead to quality answers, okay? As you move and think like your team members, your mind will come up with similar answers, okay? Just trust me on that. And that's a different course. You can check us out for that later. So check this out. Looking through the eyes of your team, see this. Do they get great satisfaction in your work? So if you're looking through their eyes, does your team get great satisfaction? Do they take pride in doing the best possible job? Do they see working as a burden? And if so, positive reframe, do they have a purpose in their work? Do they work just for the money? And the positive reframe here is, do they work for financially supporting themselves and their family? Saying it slower, do they work to support themselves and their family? So can you look at it through their eyes, shifting your focus and try to see where your team may be showing up? Are they leaning more Theory X or more Theory Y? Follow so far? And the final question here is this. In what ways do you need to adjust your management style to meet the wants and needs of your team? And how can you use Theory X and Theory Y? Okay, this is a tough assignment now. I want you to really consider this. So in a second, not just yet, I want you to pause this recording and really do this. If you really want to pull the best in your team, give yourself this gift to find out what's the inner force that drives your team. Okay, so shift your focus, answer these 4 questions, plus the bonus question, and come back and see me after. Okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. So how to build team motivation. Let's look at this. How to maximize the satisfaction of our team. There's an important criteria here. We're trying to maximize satisfaction. There's really 2 pillars we want to focus on. So looking at this comes from Hertzberg's Motivators, some research done in 2021, looking at maximizing satisfaction from 2 positions. 1, reducing dissatisfaction, and increasing satisfaction. Now your mind might say, what? It's the same thing. It's like, hold on. If I reduce dissatisfaction, it doesn't necessarily increase satisfaction. So we're treating them separately. Okay? Do you follow that? So how do we do this? How did Hertzberg figure out how to reduce dissatisfaction and oppositely increase satisfaction? So to do that, there were 2 factors here. One was the hygiene factors. And he rated the hygiene factors from high to low, meaning are you getting good enough pay? Do you have a nice title? Hygiene, or mechanic, technical pieces. When you go to the motivation factors, these are more like, do I like my job? Do I have status? Do I belong? Am I accepted? Those kind of things, more soft intangibles. So hygiene, you could consider more tangible, and motivation more intangible. So see my grid here. Take a nice deep breath in. If you look at the bottom left corner, it says low hygiene, low motivation. Okay, so that means I got low pay probably, and low, I don't really care about the work. Low motivation. Do you follow? If I go to low hygiene, high motivation, it could mean, hey, you know what? I'm not getting paid very much, but I love the work. This is so meaningful. Okay, that's that quadrant. Follow? If I go over to the top left, I've got high hygiene. So I got this killer salary. I'm making money, right? But I don't really like the work. I got low motivation. I don't really like the people here. I don't like this place. Blah, right? Now, on the top right corner, I've got high hygiene and high motivation. So what happens here is I'm getting paid a ton and I love the work. Now, these are simple examples, but it helps paint the picture. Does that make sense? Let's really reinforce this message here. So if I'm saying motivation factors, what I'm saying is picture in your mind, look at your team, the work itself. Do they appreciate the work? Do they have great job satisfaction? Do I have responsibility? Do I have recognition? Do I have opportunities and personal growth? So you see these things, you're like, how do I increase motivation? What do I do? If you try to level up these things for your team, they start to feel more satisfied. So you're increasing satisfaction. Got it? On the hygiene factors, you want to decrease dissatisfaction or reduce dissatisfaction. How do you do that? Well, it could be they're not getting paid enough. It could be that the company policies are too rigid and is it 3 days in the office or is it 2 days in the office? What's going on here? Okay, it could be the conditions themselves. It's like, look at this hoteling and moving in different desks and working from home and people don't. And so if you want to sort of reduce the dissatisfaction here to make them feel better about their work. Do you follow? So you bring those, hold on. Let me make sure I got this. So if I'm decreasing hygiene or dissatisfaction, I may want to increase their pay. I may want to clarify company policies. I may want to improve the working conditions, tangibles. Follow? So watch this grid now. As we go around this grid, how do you recognize where your team is? How will you know what quadrant they might be in? So we start in our bottom left corner where they've got not much hygiene and really not much motivation. Here, it's the worst situation of all. People are complaining, they got low motivation, they just, get me out of here, I can't stand this, and it's just really demoralizing of a place. Follow? If I go bottom right, you're getting a lot of complaints, but their motivation is high. They love the work, but they're just not getting paid well. The conditions aren't very good. There's not like breaks or vacations or status or benefits. It's like, right? But they love what they do. Okay. So you're seeing a lot of complaints here, but they're still pushing hard for you. Top left, you're seeing few complaints, but they're not really giving you much passion or drive. Well, they're making this incredible amount of money. They got benefits, time off, they got perks and team trips and all these. They're like, yeah, this is great, but I'm just kind of phoning it in. I'm not getting recognized much. I don't really care much for the team. The work is kind of meaningless, like that feeling. So our goal here is go to the ideal situation, meaning there's no complaints and high motivation. They love what they do. This is so invigorating. It's tapping into their deeper why, their deeper purpose, and they're getting paid what they're worth, and they feel it. And so they just love that place. So as you're hearing this, maybe notice which one of these quadrants is your team in now, and where do you want to get them to? So here we go. Just to really reinforce this message. If we're following these factors, our job is to increase satisfaction. We want to increase their status, increase their responsibility, maybe give them more recognition, more chances to grow. As we increase this motivation, they feel better. Also, we want to decrease dissatisfaction. Increase their salary if you can. Clarify company policies. Improve the work conditions. Try to create relationships and team building inside the team. The quality of your management staff, that kind of stuff. If you decrease those gaps, they're going to feel a sensation of satisfaction. Got it? Okay. So workplace motivators, there's really three strong sort of chunks of motivators. If you want to increase satisfaction, try this. Autonomy. Give them more freedom to do their work. More chances to make their own choices. Mastery. Help them constantly improve. Some folks have been around for so long they kind of get stagnant, or give them more ways to develop, promote collaboration and help them learn new tools or new skills possibly. And then finally, purpose, where the desire to work hits a deeper mission or a deeper goal or a deeper drive or hits their values. Connect their personal goals to the organizational goals if you can. So if you focus on these areas, like how am I gonna build satisfaction? How am I gonna increase the motivation? Focus on autonomy, focus on mastery, and focus on purpose. So our next exercise. So try this. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to try and increase satisfaction. Remember, the work itself, recognition, opportunity to grow. How do you increase these places? So brainstorm 3 ways you can do this. On your notes somewhere, on your piece of paper, on your Word document, 3 ways you can do this to increase job satisfaction. Think of autonomy, think of mastery, and think of purpose. Okay? So pause the recording, give yourself this gift, take a couple minutes here and capture 3 ways to increase job satisfaction. And I'll be here waiting for you when you're done. You ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay. Did you pause the recording? If you didn't, pause me now and do it again. Come on, I'm holding you accountable. Okay, so what you have now, if you pause me and you did the work, you've got 3 ways to increase satisfaction. 3 tangible things you can do. The next part is consider this. The hygiene factors, meaning we want to reduce job dissatisfaction. I know it says improve job dissatisfaction. Just hear me. You want to reduce dissatisfaction, okay? So how do we reduce that? Well, provide tangible incentives. Give them bonuses, gift cards, trips, dinners out, some kind of tangible incentive. Also, update your company rules. I kind of joked earlier about the idea of like right now, this hybrid work environment, folks aren't sure, am I coming in 3 days or is it 2 days or do I stop emailing at 5 or what is happening? So help people know what they're supposed to do when, and also mend and build relationships where possible. Team building activities, mentor programs, mastermind groups, think tanks, all of these kind of ways are more tangible ways to reduce dissatisfaction. Do you follow that? Okay, great. So now, same thing, think and write. Take a few seconds here. Here's what I want you to do. Take a couple of minutes maybe and jot down a list of all the possible things you could do to make sure the people on your team are dissatisfied. You're like, what? What are you doing, Cal? Just trust me. So right now, by contrast, I want you to think like, just go for it. Play full out with me here. What are all the things that would make your team dissatisfied? Like they hate it. I can't believe this place. Okay. So write those down. I'll stop talking for just a few seconds here. Pause me now. Write this down. Go. I'm watching you. Okay, great. So if you paused me, you now have this crazy list of like no breaks and no vacation time and reduce their pay and then confusing. You have this crazy list, right? Now watch this. Step 2 is this. Take a few more minutes now to go down your list and ask yourself, is there anything you might be doing in any way, shape, or form that contributes to this list? Okay. Now, the reason I'm having you do this is by contrast to see, because usually when we talk about dissatisfaction, people say, not me. No, I never do that, right? Everyone says that, but they don't notice how in subtle ways they might be. So by taking your mind first to a very extreme place, we can see by contrast that, our work from home policy isn't quite clear. Actually, our after hours policy also is kind of. So you start to notice subtle things you might be doing. So take another minute or two here, go through your extreme list and think to yourself, is there anything you might be doing to contribute to this in any way, shape, or form? This is no judgment. This is a chance to actually find a way to drive that inner force out of your team. We're here to build motivation, not criticize and harm ourselves. We're helping to serve our teams at a higher level. Make sense? Okay. Give yourself this gift. Take a couple minutes here, go through your extreme list and find, is there anything you might be doing to contribute to this in any way, shape, or form? You ready? Okay, pause the recording and I'll see you when you get back. Okay, welcome back. So what you have now on your list is you have this extreme list and now a couple ideas that came to you like, I could clean this up to help reduce dissatisfaction. So if you follow me in this section, what have we got? We've got a series of ways, maybe 3 ways to increase satisfaction. And we got a couple ideas on how we might reduce dissatisfaction. If we get in the habit of doing both of these things, what can happen is we're going to maximize satisfaction for our team. How to build team motivation. So now let's look at make it personal. One of the key pillars here is how to make this really relate to the person who's standing in front of you. So the idea here is this. We want to resist bystander apathy. One of the fallacies of going for team motivation is doing just a general blanket approach, not really specifying or trying to connect to any one individual. What does that mean? If you read my slide here, it says, an appeal to the group rarely stimulates a particular person to act. And you've all seen this. You're talking to the team or the group and you say, hey, who's taking this meeting on Friday? No one raises their hands. Or in a more real example, I'm sure you've all been on a Zoom call or a team call and the poor facilitator, right, looks at you and says, who would like to add? Who would like to share? Any other comments? And everyone's like, but as soon as I say, hey, Robert, what do you think? Or, hey, Rick, what do you think? Or, hey, Janice, or, hey, Sally, I call your name out. What happens? That person speaks. But if I appeal to the group, nothing happens. So our goal here, making it personal, is try to link it to a specific person or a specific individual if you want them to lean in. Do you follow that? Okay, here we go. So making team motivation personal, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. Everyone's different. We all want to be appealed in our own unique way. So the first thing is you got to discover their why. Let's go more brief first, and we'll go more deep in a second. So the sort of 3 pillars here is I'm talking to this person. First of all, what is their why? Okay. Second is I want to focus on small wins. And then third, I want to give feedback. If I really want to get personal motivation. Okay, let's go a little more specific now. So if I'm saying discover their why, what I'm saying here is motivation directly relates to what that person wants to achieve or become. It behooves me to figure out what's most important to this person, not at a superficial reactionary level, but to spend time, get curious, and really listen to what's driving this person. What is their motive for action? And it may be surprising to know it's much deeper or more powerful than you might think. So spend time getting curious, asking questions, listening, observing to really figure out what's driving this person to do what they do. Second, as we understand what's their why is now focus on small wins. So reading the slide here now, it says the progress principle. People feel successful when they see they are making progress, and that is motivating. One of my favorite phrases is progress over perfection. Understand that people make mistakes and they feel bad and they're not where they want to be in life and so on. But what really drives us is the sensation of growing. And it's inch by inch is a cinch. It's a corny phrase, but it's so true. It's progress over perfection. Just keep going, keep on swimming, right? So look for those small wins, not the monumental wins. And I really want to reinforce this point. A lot of us, we wait for those big wins to celebrate. And the trouble is our internal pharmacy doesn't work that well. We have dopamine and all these things firing off, but it waits until that big win. And those big wins are so far apart. We don't get that nice celebration, that satisfaction, that joy that's entitled to you. If you focus on small wins, the dopamine response is firing off faster, every day possibly. And by doing that, it just sort of like empowers your team and invigorates them to keep doing more. Progress over perfection. Inch by inch, it's a cinch. Get those small wins. You follow me? So important to do that for your team. And then third here is give feedback. Now, feedback is not meant to be a confrontation or a heart-pounding, difficult conversation. Feedback is just helping us keep on track. That's all. It's the fine-tuning. So it can be a transparent, honest feedback with measurable and actionable steps. The idea here is you're supporting, you're not judging. I'm helping you to keep within the lines, keeping you momentum going for you. That's the idea. I'm just helping you get closer and quicker to your result. So if you want to make it personal, what is their why? What drives them? Focus on small wins as much as you can and help keep them on track with that feedback. You do that, you're going to drive that personal motivation up. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Now, when you're discovering their why, what you want to do is this. Use your one-on-ones. And sit down, take your time, no rush. Get really curious and be present. Listen with your eyes and your ears. I'm curious. Hey, what drives you? Ask them straight out. If you don't like that question, say, hey, why do you do what you do? What gets you up in the morning? Or you can go negative here too, where you could say, hey, what keeps you up at night? Okay, positive and negative. You just want to find the source, the heart of what moves this person. Then you might say, I'd love to discuss, what career aspirations you have. As your leader, I want to see you succeed, even if that means you eventually move on to another team. Your job is to be a leader who creates leaders. So find out what drives this person. Make sense? Okay, great. Now, we've done it. If you've been with me the whole time here, we've covered clarity. Okay, how do you make it clearer for your team? Benchmarks, how they're measured. Look at your style. Are you more theory X? Are you more theory Y? Are you more authoritative or are you more participative? We looked at that. Remember that? We looked at maximizing satisfaction, meaning how do you increase your motivating factors, the job itself, the opportunities for growth and responsibility, and how do you reduce the dissatisfaction? By increasing the pay, getting clear on your company policies, getting clear on what it means to build your team closer together, and finally make it personal. There's no one size fits all. Find out what drives your team to win, each individual person. Find out the small wins and give them feedback to keep on track. You do these 4 things, and you're going to build your team to be motivated. You're going to tap into that inner force, and they're going to achieve their personal and their organizational goals. An attitude of gratitude. One of the ways to really pull the best out of your people is to have an attitude of gratitude. This is an interesting stat we're showing on the slide here that says only 1 in 3 people felt they were recognized the last time they went the extra mile at work. Did you catch that? Let that sink in for a second. Only 1 in 3 were recognized when they went the extra mile. They're putting in long hours, they're commuting, they're taking time from their families, they're putting in, double duty sometimes. And there's only 1 in 3. It's amazing. And you can see why that wouldn't pull the best out of someone if they feel like, what's the point? It doesn't make a difference. I'm not getting noticed. Who cares? So our job is to sit back and say, hey, I want to recognize everything that goes on as often as I can. Now, we are humans, so give yourself a break. But the idea is, as often as regular as you can you appreciate your people? So how do you show appreciation to your team? One of the best things about this is it's a very low cost thing to do, and it really has a high impact. So the first thing is, don't let accomplishments go unrecognized. As soon as you see it, you call it out. There's a couple of great books that How to Win Friends and Influence People, or The 1 Minute Manager. We talked about being lavish in your praise, and that you can win, people with a drop of honey more so than a gallon of vinegar. So as much as you just, good job, way to go, just catch it and say it as soon as you can. Big, big payoff. Second, say thank you, but say why. Saying thank you and good job, attaboy, good for you, that a girl. Those kind of phrases are sort of empty and hollow. So say thank you, yes, and I'm saying thank you because you crushed it on that last project. You spoke up in that meeting. You came in early and covered our butt when we were stuck. So taking it, giving that fine tuning to your saying thank you and why. Also, establish a structured recognition system. Make it consistent. Make sure everyone knows how it works and it's really clear how they're being recognized. Nothing worse than someone putting in the extra effort and then you recognize someone else but not them. So make a nice structured way to recognize employees for their achievements and success. Do you follow that? 3 simple ways to really show appreciation, but it really drives up the needle as far as showing their inner force to achieve personal and organizational goals. Here's a couple examples. So one might be a huge thank you to you and your entire team for working together to finish the proposal. Or thanks to you for your hard work. We were able to accomplish the goal of our Q4 objectives. Very simple phrases, but it really draws out the power of people. Do you follow that? Can't say it enough. Show appreciation to your team. So here's what I want you to do. Take a second here and pause my recording, okay? I want you to do a think and write exercise where you show your appreciation to your team. So first, plan to show appreciation to someone on your team today. Okay, even if it's late right now or early in the morning, you can still send them an email or a text, right? So today you will send them this note. Say, hey, listen, how will you show them appreciation? And what will you say? So it could be an e-card. It could be a text, an email, a phone call. You walk over to their desk, right? Whatever you do, how will you show appreciation today and what will you say? Second, within the next week, show appreciation to your entire team. Make a solid plan of how you'll do this and what you will say, okay? So right now, not just yet, right now, pause the recording and write down how you will show appreciation today and how it will show to your team this week. Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, pause the recording. Okay, great. Welcome back. Now, if you've done this, you have 2 actions you can take, even right now today, to follow through on how to show appreciation to someone on your team and possibly your entire team. I can't wait for you to do this. You'll see huge dividends by having this attitude of gratitude and really paying it forward to your team. So I want to share a couple of final words on trying to trigger or activate the inner force within your team to help them achieve their personal and organizational goals. The final words are a leader's impact on team motivation. So I want you to really sit back and think for a second on your impact on this team, what you can do. And one of the biggest things you can do is transfer optimism. What I mean by that is a leader's ability to authentically embody and portray positivity and optimism is crucial to the foundation for team motivation. It's important to slow down here and reflect for a second because we live in a world of reality. We're not suggesting you're just pie in the sky thinking and wishful thinking and just almost like reckless positivity. That's not the idea. You're a leader. You're based in reality. We're looking for optimism, the belief that you can find a way, that you can figure it out, that you'll take another shot. It's not just wishful thinking. It's the idea that things will work out. So you understand that there'll be bad days, there are rainy days and things, we lose business, you lose clients, people leave, people move on. That's part of being a leader. And you know that when those things happen, it's not the end. Failure is never fatal, right? So our job as leaders is we transfer that optimism And as I get ready to close this session out for you, there's a great phrase from author in the US. His name is James Baldwin. And he talks about children. And it has a very interesting impact because it ties to what we're talking about here as being a leader. And what Baldwin says is that your children do a fantastic job of imitating. They do a terrible job of listening. So what does that mean? That means, your team will hear you talking. You can do it, push harder, go for the fourth quarter, extra effort, come on. They hear you talking. But what's really going on is they're watching, how are you responding to these challenges? How are you responding to our current working conditions? How are you dealing with what's going on right now in the marketplace? They're watching you more so than listening to you. So as a leader, your job is, can you portray that authentically? Are you showing up? Can they look at you and notice what really it takes to be someone who's optimistic and has a positive outlook? Does that make sense? Okay, great. As we finish up here, 3 actions for you to take. So one is shift your focus and see things from the point of view of your team. Try and see things through their eyes if you can. Because as you do, it's going to affect your assumptions and adjust your management style. Do you have to be more participative or more authoritative? Second, incorporate 3 motivation factors to maximize workplace satisfaction. So as a reminder, if you're going to increase satisfaction, maybe you want to increase the purpose of the work, the responsibility, the chance to grow, the meaning of the work. As you enhance that and tie to their personal goals, it will drive up their satisfaction. Remember that? And then finally, show appreciation to your team. Well, remember, only 1 in 3 people, when they go the extra mile, feel like they're being recognized. So as often as you can, as consistently you can, show appreciation for your team. Recognize everything you can. Say thank you and say why you're saying thank you, and have a strong system of how you're going to follow through with that recognition process. If you do these 3 things, you're definitely going to increase the motivation on your team. As we wrap up here, shift your focus and motivate your team in a way that works for them. As you do this, you'll absolutely tap into that inner force, and you'll see your teams hit their individual goals and their organizational goals. And you'll be a leader they'll never forget. Last thing here, if you enjoyed this message, of course, check us out on Offsite. We have lots of programs here to support you in your growth and your development. We'd love to see you again as part of our programming. And with that, thank you. It's been an honor to serve you and see you here today. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.